Yeah, I have 550 games on him. My second closest is 180 on Rubik. Um,
Nice.
so I'm definitely a piece of shit, so I can teach you how to play this guy. Um, so you wanted to go over the most recent one?
Sure, yeah.
Alright. And losses are usually better to go over anyways. Um,
Yeah, I kind of ran out of my build at the end. I was like, not sure what to get.
I don't usually like Atos as a second item. I
Hmm.
really like the urn. The Tranquil's urn pickup is like an every game thing because this solves basically everything. You can stay on the map forever with some clarities. Um, and one of the things with a lot of position fours is they can win team fights, but they can't push afterwards. So let's say you take a team fight and your liking gets low, he has to back. But if you have an urn, he can stay, and that's kind of like you spend less than 1,000 gold on an item that does so much, but it also enables the strongest hero on your team to keep pushing after a team fight, which is ridiculously good. Like in my opinion, Urn should be like 1,500 gold or some shit like that. It's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you can upgrade it to
yeah.
the
Another
vessel.
thing with it with that is you can casually pick up a windlace and like hold on to it without wasting like gold getting it at like 10 minutes, which is another really good strategy. Um, I don't like the Iron Branch. It's not going to do anything for you. How much did you buy the courier?
I did not. I
Um,
had 65 gold left.
you I think if you didn't buy the courier or the wards, you want to be starting boots, tangos, and a clarity.
Which
Um,
thing was one clarity.
yeah.
Cool.
And that's pretty much the build with most roamers, unless um, usually it's if you don't have a way to get directly on top of somebody, you want to go boots, and if you do, you want to go orb of venom. So like Earth Spirit or yeah, Earth Spirit, Ricky, Bounty Hunter, Spirit Breaker, heroes like that can get directly on top of you. Tusk is another one.
Hmm.
So they're good with Orb of Venom, whereas people that can't, like Pudge, like yeah, you can hook people, but you don't really want an Orb of Venom on this guy because you don't want to be right clicking too much. Um, so like heroes like Pudge, Clockwork, Night Stalker, Earth Shaker, they like to start with
Boots.
yeah boots, and everyone basically wants tangos and a clarity because usually the roamers are strength heroes that have very cost efficient spells, but they don't have big mana pools. Um,
Hmm.
so clarity means that they can cast like 4 or 5 huge impact spells. Um, and this will just give you the cost per gold or the movement speed per gold is a lot better on boots than it is on windlace. Um,
Got it.
and it's just kind of like you give up 20 movement speed to have one more clarity and one more all stats, which
Hmm.
isn't like with this you're at average movement speed. Um,
Got it.
so the only hero that you're faster than are like these two, except for this guy has a
Right.
windlace. You're kind of faster than this guy, but yeah, you want to be faster than people, and boots allows you to do that almost always, unless they're like enchantress or some shit. And one thing that's very important is having your quick buy set up. If you control shift and click on
And click an
items,
item, yeah.
yeah, you want to be doing that every game. And
So that you can buy before you die.
yeah, you die before you die. You buy before you die. You can quickly get your items, and then you can predict what the game's going to be like, and then act accordingly. Um, but with Pudge, it's usually just you want your urn and you want your
Boots.
yeah. The only thing that you might want to throw in there is like a wand, depending on like how good the game's going and what you're doing in the lane and all that.
And if there's a bristle.
Yeah. Um. So with this, I actually have two very good videos that I have on my YouTube channel that talks
Hmm.
about like how to think about roaming and all of that. So what we can do here is keep the lesson shorter, and just talk about some small things, and then you can watch those. And like it would take me probably an hour and a half to go over like the things that are in those videos, or I could just send you the link and then you can watch those
Yeah.
for free without having to use lesson time.
Exactly. Sounds good.
So I'm gonna probably skip over most of the early game because those videos will help you with that a lot. Like right now, you probably shouldn't be bottom, and those uh, those
That was
videos
a
will
rough early game.
yeah those videos will help you um, figure out what you need to be doing early. Um, what kills you here?
Yeah.
Oh, he gets the lance. Okay. That's just trying suicide. Um, feels bad. You left your boots. Um,
Oh, that's dumb.
yeah. So I'm just gonna skip past most of the early game.
Yeah, once I went top, things got better.
Yeah. And then we can use our next lesson to like fine tune it more because those are I talk generally but also specifically to those guys and their games, so we can use like a little bit of time on the next lesson to hone that in for you. So this is good. One thing that I do with a lot of my as position 4, I rarely get the Ring of Protection from the courier. I oftentimes wait and just get the recipe because you can get the Ring of Protection at the side shops. And it's kind of
Oh.
like, yeah, it's like old Battle Fury where you would get everything except for, which one was it? You get everything except for the broadsword and fly all of it out, and then you'd pick up the broadsword at the side shop. So you'd usually save like a minute on your Battle Fury timing. And it's just kind of like the Ring of Protection doesn't do too much, like compared to a circlet. They do about the same ish, and you usually fill up on slots. Like you don't have a room for both of these unless you drop your brand. So it's kind of like you're not really gonna get much out of having this in your inventory anyways, or your backpack or whatever. So it's like might as well just try to get the urn as quick as possible. And oftentimes, like you'll not interrupt somebody else using the courier, or like a fight breaks out and you get like you clutch by your urn here, right before you kill one of them, and then you earn. Like your whoever's laning up here. Let's say you earn your Lycan and your Lycan can run through the trees. He survives. You kill the axe also, or you earn the axe and the axe dies or whatever. Which happens like it happens like 5% of the time, but that 5% will add up really quickly.
I was trying to roam and gank mid, but then figured it would be better to go back top. Missed a hook.
And the thing with this, it's hard to like always know exactly where the creeps are gonna be along the lane.
Yeah.
And like I don't even know it. And I'm like top 300 in America right now. So I don't expect you to know when this is coming, but what I do expect is when you're going for something like this, look at where your creeps are, and then
I immediately was like, oh, I should have looked where my creeps were.
Yeah, exactly. If you just look at yours, it's basically a mirror of where theirs is.
Oh, I was just wrong.
Yeah.
That was a frustrating one.
Feels bad. And this is you're in plain vision here.
Yeah.
Plus, it's kind of like if you get a hook, you're not really going to kill anyone. And a good way to... The Lycan isn't too worried about the axe, right? Because he has all of this health regen, and the lifesteal and all that. He should have more points in this. But if it's just Lycan versus axe, he's not too worried about it. It's mostly having axe and Shadow Shaman. And you don't really help... does it make sense that the Lycan would rather be 1v1 an axe than 2v2 an axe and a Shadow Shaman?
Oh, absolutely.
So what you can do as a Pudge is roam to another lane and cause such a ruckus or whatever that the Shadow Shaman has to react to you. Or you can just dominate the other lane. So oftentimes the best way to help your carry is to go as far away from your carry as possible and... make the enemy supports rotate, which they might not rotate depending on the level of the game, but as you go up more, that will become a better tactic. And even still, if they don't rotate, then you're still doing a lot, because it's like if you can hook the Tinker and dismember and then Zeus goes on him, you guys can blow the fuck out of this Tinker.
Yeah, I figured that out later in the game.
Yeah. So it's like, either way, it's better for you to not be here. And if you can delay the Tinker's bots and Blink Dagger, it'll help the Lycan a lot more, so he can solo split push without getting caught out. And this is just kind of like, they want to take the tower, and if you're in the way, you're just gonna die. They have...
Shadow Shaman has 2 disables,
and it sets up for this guy's disable. Yeah. So they have like probably 8 seconds of disables, and they want to drop wards on the tower anyways. But here, this is a good time for you to have the Windlace that's gonna possibly build into a Spirit Vessel eventually. I don't really like the Atos, because the only thing that it's... I like Atos when there's a compelling reason to get it, like a Storm Spirit or a Quap, where if I get the root, then it's effectively stunning the hero for 2 seconds. Where in this game, it doesn't really do that. I think you can stop this guy's Doppelganger, but that's about it. And you're not really gonna do anything to the Tinker with it. I'd rather see you get a Blink Dagger and be able to like better throw hooks, because if you hook the Tinker, that's a huge deal, but if you just Atos him and he's like blocked by his creeps, then it doesn't fucking matter.
Right. And a Blink, you'll see soon, a Blink would have been really effective at a certain point. Yeah. And I fucked it up.
And a really good thing to know about the urn is it's great against the axe. I want you to guess why it's really good against this guy.
Because it goes through Blade Mail.
It cancels his Blink Dagger.
That's right. I've forgotten about that. Yeah. So
Axe without a Blink Dagger is the worst fucking disable in the game.
Yeah, I forgot.
So if you earn him, you use a part of a 850 gold item to cancel his 2,250 gold item for 11 seconds, because it procs and it cancels and cancels and cancels for 8 seconds, and then it's up for 3 seconds. And if you just spam that on him, like if you ever see him running at you guys, just throw it on him, and then he's going to be useless for the entire team fight.
Right.
And the same's true for the Tinker and the... It's not as true for Tinker because it procs every 1 second, so if he rearms and instantly blinks, unless that 1 second ticks before he can blink, which is very unlikely, he'll have it refreshed. So it's not as good against Tinker, but it's still pretty good, but it's amazing against Axe. And then later on, if he gets the health regen, it's really good to have the Spirit Vessel.
Yeah, I gotta remember that for like all games. That Spirit Vessels and...
Yeah, that's why... Even I like to earn before you could even upgrade it, and I was even hesitant of selling it at like 60 minutes, just because like Axe without Blink Dagger at like 90 minutes in the game still isn't really that scary. It's just when he can get on top of two people in an instant, that's when he has his impact, and then all of his other items just help when he's done that.
Right.
So like even at like 300 minutes in the game, if the axe doesn't have a blink dagger, your urn is his blink dagger is completely useless, while your urn still gives you like stats and stuff. So it's kind of like, and then they even gave you an upgrade to it, which is amazing because Spirit Vessel is I don't like it as a first item, because it's like you're paying 2,000 gold for a little bit of health and movement speed, and nobody really has that much max health or healing early on. The only time that I really like it as a first item is if there's a Huskar on the enemy team, because he's basically countered when you use it on him in the early game, or like if you can get it at like 15-20 minutes, and then wait for him to ult, because his ult will take it off if you use it and then he ults, it purges it. But if you use it after he ults, he's going to be in the middle of your team and he's going to have 70% of his healing reduced and he's just going to die. So that's like the only time that I'll get it early. But it's a great item, and I would have really liked to have seen you get the Windlace, because it's just 20 movement speed for 250 gold is a bunch.
So that's the real Phantom.
Yeah.
So that was kind of clutch for my
and
team.
Another thing with Urn that I don't know if you know or not, is, do you know how it gives two Urn charges if you have 0 charges, and it only gives 1 if you have 1 or more.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it gave 2.
So it always gives 1 unless you have, like, you're gonna go from
charges.
3 to 4 here.
Yeah.
But if you have 0 charges,
you get 2.
So what I like to do is usually I'll throw out the first. When you kill somebody, you get 2, and I'll use the first one to heal or something like that. Like right now, let's say you had 2 Urn charges. Throw one of them on you and then hold the next one for a fight or something. Unless you have somebody else, like let's say the Lycan is at 600
or something.
Yeah, let's say he's at 600 health or whatever. He's like, if he has 400 more health, he can stay, but if he doesn't, he has to go back. Then that's one of the times that I'll use my last Urn charge to heal. But I like to hold on to the 1 Urn charge because it helps a lot with guaranteeing that I'm going to kill somebody else and get 2 more Urn charges. And then also, if you take a team fight and you can cancel a Blink Dagger, that's a lot more important than getting a little bit more health on one of your guys, unless it means that they can stay and do something important. So in a lot of my games, I'll just run around with 1 Urn charge, unless there's a huge team fight where I get like 5 or 6
kills. Right.
Yeah. Why is it showing me the Lycans? Okay, there we go. And you should be switching this. You should have your bracer in your... and this is...
I should have the 2 bracers instead of the bracer and the branch.
Well, I want to point out here, they're probably not going to have 2 wards right here. So you kind of waste...
I just remembered Tinker walking north. That was why I...
Yeah, you got the 1, and then you should kind of, like, not...
Call it quits.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And then, yeah, this is also... I'd even rather see you have the bracer than the clarity.
And the clarity.
Yeah, because the chances of you, like, abruptly needing a clarity is very slim.
Very low, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like the wards. Like, this isn't really going to catch anyone. It would have caught that Tinker that one time, but how many times is he really going to go up there? Especially with this tower up still. It's like, you're not. How often are people going to be here when you still
in
have
the opposite jungle when they're in the tower? Yeah.
And you have a ward here, and you have a ward here. So the only way that this is going to catch anything is if the enemy walks like this path and then goes into, or if the Tinker jumps like to here. But if the Tinker's going to go this direction, he's more likely to go in here. Yeah.
So would you have just saved that or one of those two wards, or
if I had control of all three of these wards, I would have placed one probably like right here. It depends on how the push is going to go. If you guys know that you can steamroll this tower and there's nothing they can do about it, I would have placed a deeper ward. I would have placed one like either here or here, run around here and place one. Or even just like here if it's nighttime so they don't see you, or something like that, because the way that I think about warding is there's kind of like a line of the most aggressive that you can be, and the way that I like to explain it is imagine all the tier 2s in the game are down, and they have a Naga Siren, and let's say you're Radiant, the enemy Dire team has a Naga Siren. They have all of your lanes pushed up to the towers consistently. The farthest that you can be aggressive is like right here.
The high ground, right below ground.
Yeah. So what a really good ward would be is like something like this or this.
Just past it.
Yeah.
So you can see where they're coming.
Exactly. And then, so it's not dependent on the towers entirely, but it is like, let's say you're playing Radiant, or let's say the Radiant has their tier 1s here. Nobody on either of the teams should be placing those wards. Just because, like, who the fuck is going to catch someone there and it's going to be helpful? Because, like, the Radiant team can TP here and just skip over the wards, and the Dire team, like, they can see, the Dire team, it doesn't make sense to place those wards there. So it's kind of like, imagine how far you can go out and then place a ward that catches that and just past it. Because that's when the important information happens. But, like, let's say this tower's up and you place one of these wards that I was saying would be good with this tower down, then you're not going to catch the Shadow Shaman that TP's here. So you want it to be able to catch the TP so you have the most information. Like, if a good example is if you're on the Radiant team and this tower's up, you don't want to place this one, because then you'll miss anyone TPing here. But the second that this one is down, then if you place a ward there, it's really good because it will catch most of these TPs and most of these, and it'll catch basically anyone on the Dire team that's moving on the lower half of the map. So it's catching movements, and then also catching non-movements. Like if nobody runs through it, that's just as important. Catching TPs and all of that. So again, if I had control of all three of these wards, of course you don't, because one of your other guys placed this one. Right here would have been good, because this is a really good ward for if you're trying to take the tower. But if you can,
because you can see them coming a long way off.
Yeah, and then you can throw out a hook and kill one of them, and then you steamroll the tower. But if you can steamroll the tower without that ward, then I would wait and throw it deeper.
You do steamroll the tower without that ward, so
yeah. So it'd be better to hold these. Like, this ward is almost strictly worse than like this ward, because unless somebody TPs to the shrine, this is going to catch all of the movements that this one's going to catch. It's kind of like, how do I put it?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's just predicting what the most... I don't do this actively, but it's like the best way to explain it is you want to place a ward that will catch all of the movements or most of the movements and be as deep as possible while being still helpful. So like it's kind of like if you place this ward, let's say you have this tower down, and if you place this ward compared to this ward will catch all of the movements that this one will catch, unless there's some like cheeky shit like down this path and then down this path, or like up this way. This one will catch most of the movements that this one will catch, but this one will see it sooner and catch more. So that's kind of like
that's why deeper is better.
Yeah. So do you have any questions on wards?
What are your most commonly placed wards that aren't on the little eye tower things? So like,
it's hard to say because it's very game dependent, and but like I like wards here and here.
Yeah, I never do those, so that's good to know.
Lane wards are really good at the start of the game.
I almost tend to do exclusively jungle wards, so it's good to know that lane wards are actually a thing.
Yeah, they're really good because it's kind of like, I think it's better the higher up you go because there's more. The lower you go, the more that people feel like all they can do is one thing. Like if you have a jungler, all he's gonna do is jungle for 10 minutes. If you have somebody in the lane, all he's gonna do is lane for 10 minutes. Whereas the higher you go up, it's like, all right, like the mindset of the offlaner is like, all right, I need my level 2 before they get level 3 and I can lane. But if they do this, or this, then I can't, and I have to go jungle to get my level 2, and all of these things. So you have options, and the enemy has options, and all of that, and like, you're more likely to catch them going to the jungle or the bounty runes and all of that. And if you know that they're going for this bounty rune, then you can go for this one, or if you know that they're in lane, you can go for both of the bounty runes, or
I do that a lot.
All of that stuff, and lane wards are amazing for that. And then also, if you place the lane ward soon enough, you can see who's going to be in the lane and then like move accordingly. Like if they're tri-laning your Lycan and you're a Pudge, and you can see that at 30 minutes before the rune spawns, you're like, alright, well I can't do a fucking thing against a tri-lane, I'm just going to go somewhere else. But if you don't have the lane ward, you might not see that soon enough. And then by the time you get to bottom, the PL's level 2, and you can just doppelganger away whenever you go on them or whatever. So does that help? I guess other ones that I like are... I really like either this one or this one when you're on the Radiant and you have this tower down.
You don't go for the... oh, there isn't a tower over on this side. I forgot. I always forget about that.
And then this one and this one can be pretty good. Of course, Roshan...
Do you ever go for the rune wards?
What was that?
Do you ever go for the rune wards? Like...
You only need vision of one of the runes, and
Oh, why is that?
Because if you get if you have 2 wards on the runes, you don't get twice the information. Because if you have one on, let's say you have a ward here, you're going to either see that it is a rune and which one it is, or you're going to see that it's not a rune and the other one is bottom. So with one ward, you're gonna know the location of the rune.
This is also a lack in my understanding of how rune spawn works. So they spawn every 2 minutes at certainly one of the locations.
Yeah. So if you have one
even numbers on one of the 2, there will be a rune there.
Yeah, every 2 minutes. There's going to be a rune, either top or bottom. So if you have just one rune ward, you're gonna know if it's top or bottom.
Got it.
So that's kind of like a second ward isn't gonna better let you know if it's top or bottom.
Right. I mean, it just lets you know what type the rune is, but it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter at that point.
Yeah.
You really want to know that it's there.
You have a 50% chance of knowing what the type of the rune is for a ward that could be winning a lane instead.
And so that spot's probably a good one to deward, right? The one that's on the radiant side.
This ward and like wards like right here are really good because they're good mid wards and they see the rune. Whereas if you put a ward like here or here, it doesn't help mid at all except for seeing the rune. But it does catch roamers a little bit more depending on where the roamer is. Let's say they have a Radiant has a safe lane Kunkka or whatever. You're more inclined to put a ward like here or here that will catch the Kunkka running around if he's going to gank mid. Whereas this one or this one won't see the rotations from the bottom supports going mid. But it's still, those are still decent wards. They're just like better if, let's say, the supports are top and they're going to rotate mid this way. Because then it'll catch the rotate, the supports rotations, it's going to catch the rune, or if it's bottom, and then it's going to also help the mid lane, because you're going to have high ground vision. So usually when
I sometimes put it up on the ledge with the ancients, but it seems like a better idea to put it down there.
Yeah, you're not. This is really good for. These two are good for if you're gonna try and take Roshan, and the mid tower is down.
Got it.
But if you place it here, the chances of a support ganking mid in this way is pretty small. And if they do gank it this way, let's say the Radiant's trying to gank the Dire mid, if you catch him here, you're going to catch him with this ward too.
It's just like a half second later.
Well, right? It's like 5 seconds, but like it's still enough time. Like if you see him here, if you let's say they're ganking at like 8 minutes. If you see the guy here or you see the guy here and you're like right here, you're fine either way because he's not going to catch you from like right here if you're over here.
Yeah.
And even supports usually don't rotate that way. They usually rotate from a lane. And like right now you could have a windlace instead of the branch. It's important for you to... Right now you shouldn't really be scared. You see all of them actually. Right now you have vision of all of them and you're being scared. You should be getting this farm right now.
I was getting a TP scroll to go...
Oh, did you go the wrong path?
No, it was also... Now I remember what I was thinking in this moment. It was the Tinker. I wanted to... Because I knew Tinker had boots of teleportation. And I wanted to either wipe out all the creeps... But I guess I found out that Tinker wasn't actually a threat to me. That I was way more of a threat to Tinker than he was to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I should have just not been scared and just, like, farmed.
So do you have any questions so far?
No, it's all good stuff so far.
And one thing with again the quick buy, but do you have your TP scroll set to normal cast?
Believe so. So you have to click.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't have, I have all of my other quick cast, but it's very good to have a, like I always put my TP scrolls or my bots in one. So whenever shit goes down, I can always double press one and know that I'm gonna go back to the well. And this here, it's just kind of like, you can help push a little bit faster, but you don't need to, and you're a much greater threat if you stay back.
Yeah.
Like the Zeus and the Monkey King can push.
Can push fine.
Yeah. So if you stay back, like over here, out of vision, they're going to play like you might not be there, and then you can get easy kills from that.
Right. get a hook, and I wouldn't have died right here.
Yeah, like if you were sitting back here, threw a hook on the axe, earned him and dismembered him, your Monkey King wouldn't be in this shit position. He wouldn't be dying, and then you also would have been like back here instead. Also, you should have turned off your rot, which that's more of an experience thing. It's easy to forget that you have rot on in the middle of a hectic fight.
Yeah, it's also just like a time thing. I often remember, but it's like, oh gosh, it's like a half second, and I've lost suddenly a bunch of health.
Yeah. One sec. I didn't pay attention to this. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, here. I usually don't get the 4th point in rot at level 9. And the main reason is,
You want to get Flesh Heap before you get rot?
Yeah. That's the way. It's kind of like, by level 9, you usually have at least a few, stacks of Flesh Heap, which means that you'll often do more damage through rot by having the extra health to rot longer.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that level 4 rot is that much better than level 1 rot, because if you think about...
You still get that 30% move slow, yeah, and it's just like a few more DPS.
Yeah, and it's also damaging you, so it's kind of like, if you look at the damage you take per slow, it goes up. So if you just want your rot as a slow, it's like, it's basically, there's usually a higher level rot is better, but sometimes a lower level rot is better. Whereas having Flesh Heap stacks is always good.
Always a great thing.
Yeah, and the magic resistance works on the rot, and you have extra health. So it's just kind of like, it makes you very tanky. And then this guy's spears, this guy's march and rockets, all of this. You take a lot less damage from this.
From rot. Yeah.
And then if you get rot level 4 at 9, you're not going to get Flesh Heap until level 11.
Right, because you're going to get Dismember again.
Well, you're going to get your level 10 talent. And then also, you should be going the armor talent always. I've never gotten the rot damage. Because it's...
Did you go armor, lifesteal, cooldown, Dismember?
It's armor, lifesteal, and then it's game dependent, and it's game dependent. It's usually... I usually go the GPM talent, because as Pudge you can delay the game a lot by throwing out quality hooks on high ground. So the GPM talent really like starts to kick in very well. And then like I'll usually go the Flesh Heap stacks, because by that time you usually get like 1,000 health by doing that, and then it also buffs up your right click and your ult. And what the GPM talent allows you to do is get items like E-Blade and Heart, which make you fucking ginormous. If you hook E-Blade, dismember, rot somebody, you can do like 2,000, 3,000 damage.
What's E-Blade?
Ethereal blade.
Oh, wow.
And the cool thing with this is the nuke damage, if you look right here, it's 2 times your primary attribute. And it makes, right here, it makes them take 40% more magic damage.
Magic damage, so when you do your Dismember it.
Yeah. And with all of your Flesh Heap stacks and a heart eventually, you're going to do a fuck ton of damage with it. I can show you later in a demo how much damage it'll do. But if they don't have a lot of stuns and they have like a Life Stealer or a Juggernaut or a Sven, somebody that you can lock down for 6 seconds and it like changes the game, then that's huge. But that only happens like 2 or 3% of the games, because usually by the time that you get this, it's like they have at least Yules, Sheep, Abyssal, if they don't have disables in their team anyways. Like this, they have Frostbite, they have Call, they have Sheep, they have Shackles. This guy will probably get Hex eventually, maybe Yules, and this guy might get Abyssal eventually. So if you get, even with them not getting any extra disables through items, it would be bad to get the extra Dismember, because they have enough that, like, if you're ulting the PL or the Tinker, 3 seconds is enough to do most of what you want, and 6 seconds is definitely going to get cancelled. So it's kind of like you're not really going to get much out of it. Whereas all of the extra strength will mean you do more damage in those 3 seconds because the scale's off of your strength, and you're going to have a fuck ton of health. And you can get like a late game Blade Mail, and they can't do jack shit to you. But the reason that you go with the armor is because the rot damage is going to be hurting yourself as much as it's going to be hurting them. And the armor, just like Flesh Sheep, will oftentimes allow you to get more rot damage than the rot damage will, because you'll survive. And Pudge's weakness is he gets a fuck ton of strength and magic resistance through his... he has 3.5 strength gain, and he has Flesh Sheep stacks, and he has the magic resistance from Flesh Sheep stacks. So he's got a bunch of health, and he has a bunch of magic resistance, but he doesn't have good armor.
Physical armor.
Yeah. So the armor makes you a huge-ass fucking tank, and you can just be annoying as shit without having to go, like, Blade Mail or Shivas or some shit like that. And then the lifesteal, you just kind of want to get it because it's fucking amazing.
Right.
And you should be having a TP scroll. You get one eventually.
Yeah, I get one right there.
And you definitely want it in your inventory. There you go.
Yeah, swap it out.
And one thing that's really good about an early Blink Dagger is it allows you to get Flesh Sheep. You have to be within 450 range or get the kill for you to get a stack. So you can blink in and get in Flesh Sheep range more. So you can oftentimes get like 2 or 3 more stacks with a Blink Dagger early. And that might mean you kill somebody and you get another stack, and then it snowballs from there.
Yeah, there's a certain point in this at which they're pushing up mid, and CM does her, whatever her ult is.
Yeah.
And I could have hooked her, but I couldn't get down from the ledge fast enough.
Yeah.
It would have been really great to have the blink right then.
Yeah, it's just Blink's so good because it gives you a lot more options. Like, you can throw better hooks, or you can just blink in and dismember somebody. Like, oftentimes you just can't throw a hook no matter how good you are. Like, if the CM's ulting right here, you're not going to hit her with a hook. But if you can blink in, you can save like 4 seconds of her ulting before you can dismember her.
Right.
Here, you definitely should...
Is that a good ward right there on that tower now that we knocked it down? Probably not. I would want to go to the next tower, right?
Yeah, this is a really good one if you can get there. It's kind of the same, like, this is really good until you take the tier 1 down, then this is really good. And the same is true for this. It's just harder to get this one because you have to go from low ground to high ground to place this, whereas this one, you're high ground the whole time.
We're doing pretty well at this point, and we realize we need to push. It's right here. Yep.
And like, yeah, all of this is just if you had a Blink Dagger.
I know. Yeah. It's just a moment where I was like, shit, if I had a Blink Dagger, I would be way more effective.
You could have even ulted, or you could have hooked her here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then the creeps got in the way, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then I missed.
yeah, that's
Oh,
just a little... You need to practice your hook. You definitely could have got her. Hook has like 100 or 150 radius, so if you throw it like right here, it'll hit her. And then you could have earned this guy, and you would have killed both of them. And then you could go in on the PL with no problem. Yeah. And then you're just not using your Atos at all, so like the active's wasted.
right. And I see what you mean by the extra armor and the flesh heap being really useful against the PL right there. Because
Yeah.
as time goes on, PL's what wins them the game.
Yeah, it's just kind of like you don't have to itemize for armor if you get this talent. But like your rot damage is going to fall off no matter what. Plus it's just making you take more damage. Yeah, you're just underutilizing your Atos.
Yeah, I like never use the Atos and I never use the pipe. It was dumb.
Here, you guys definitely need to push. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Good. Nice.
Oh yeah, that was one of my proud moments. I was like, oh, that was when I realized I could just kill the Tinker.
Yeah. Pudge is really good for that. And at this point, I don't see how you guys lose the game. Like, you guys should... one of the really good things about Pipe that I learned from like playing like 100, 200 games of heroes that Pipe was good on is the way that I started valuing it is not so much like probably what most people value it for. I look at it as if I have Pipe, can we push high ground? If I don't have push, or if I don't have Pipe, can I push high ground? So in this game, what do you think the answer to that would be?
Probably. Oh, the CM. The reason I got it was because of the CM's ult. But yeah, we could probably push high ground at this point with 5.
Well, the thing that I want.
But pipe doesn't make a difference in this case.
Pipe. The main thing that I'm trying to portray is your Pipe works on your creeps.
Oh, so it negates tower damage too?
If you use your Pipe on the creeps, then Tinker's March won't just kill them.
Right. Okay.
So if you get a Pipe, you guys can push high ground. If you don't get a Pipe, then you can't push high ground because they'll just march it and then hit it with like Crystal Nova or a Shockwave, and you guys can never push high ground, basically.
Right. So I should have used the Pipe right here.
Yeah.
And we should have pushed the high ground.
Yeah. Because then Tinker just can like delete all these creeps, and it's kind of like, if we watch here, I guess he's not doing it. But like he can just go up, march this, and then they're all dead, which is what he should be doing.
God, and then I have all this gold, and I have no idea what to do with it.
Blink Dagger's a good item. I don't know why you have an Ogre Club. Or Ogre Axe.
I think I was building towards Ags.
I don't really like Ags too much. I get the only time that I again, you're underusing. You have fucking 17 urn charges?
I know.
I've never seen that many urn charges in my life.
Yeah, I was bad about items in this game.
Yeah. And then like you have a clarity in your inventory instead of
instead of an ogre club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what deny range is for towers?
Yeah. Do I know the literal number?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
It's
But
10% of the max health.
Got it. So, should I have let that get to deny range and then deny it? Or...
No, it's fine that you keep it there. It's just a good little thing to know. Back to Ags, the only time that I really like it is against a Faceless Void, usually. Because what it allows you to do is, if you're playing against a Faceless Void, as a Pudge, your job is to save your team from Chronos, because you can hook out of Chrono. Yeah. So, what playing against a Void does is it makes you hold your hook until Chrono. But if you have an Ags, if you throw a hook and then Chronos 2 seconds later, your hook's back up in 2 seconds. And
so you don't have to hold it anymore.
Yeah, you can throw it out as much as you want, and the worst case scenario is it's like 2-second cooldown.
Right.
And I don't like the cooldown reduction because you're not even using your items in the first place.
Yeah. Well, that's a different problem.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably like my 6th game as Pudge.
Yeah.
So, I'm still getting used to the build and stuff. Yeah, this is where it all went downhill.
Yeah, the game kind of looks over here. Yeah, the game's over.
It is.
So do you have any questions or anything? That's probably a good place to call it, and then I can send you the videos.
Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, I'll watch those. And I'm pretty new to the Pudge life, but I like it. He's a really fun character.
Yeah, he's fun as shit.
So if someone like, I'm still grappling with when picking Pudge is like a good idea or a bad idea. If there is like, say there's like a Huskar and a Legion on the other team, would you just pick someone else, or are you still like, how do you counter Pudge's counters?
Right now, I haven't picked Pudge in a while. Because he's just not, like, at this level, at my level, you usually have to first or second pick the position 4, and Pudge is very, like, counterable. Like, if they pick a Puck and a Pingolier, and I just can't gank those two, really, because I'll run at them, and then they'll just orb or jump away. So with Pudge, you kind of want to pick him later, if you can. Like, he's my favorite hero, but all you see on my games is, like, Clockwork, because Clockwork's really hard to counter. But with Pudge, it's kind of like, I'm kind of, like, my decision-making on picking him right now, like, that muscle is pretty weak, because I haven't, like, used it in a while. I guess I could just look at your games and then see if, from there, like, examples of, like it's really good against Tinker, it's shit against, PL. It's good with these two, because, they both have AoEs that they want to keep the enemies in. It's good with Invoker, because Sunstrike combo is really strong. It's good against both of these, because they're both really easy to kill, and this guy has a channel spell that you can cancel.
And she has a channel spell I can cancel too.
Yeah. Also, he is amazing with both of these guys. The way that I look at, like, at this guy, his imprisonment sets up for your hook really well if you can time it, and this guy's rupture does a fuck ton of damage if you can hook somebody that's ruptured. And one thing that I want to point out is the item Aether Lens. It's a very good item on Pudge. But you want to time it around you getting it when they're pushing a high ground. So if they're not going to push high ground until 35 minutes, you can go some other items first. But if they're going to push it at 20 minutes, you probably want to rush it because it allows you to defend high ground really well, because if you can get a pick off, and you usually can, like, the chance of getting a hook is on high ground is like twice as good if you have an Aether Lens as opposed to if you don't. So Aether Lens is really good for high ground defense, and that's kind of how I look at it, unless you have an OD, because an OD can imprison somebody and then give you 4 seconds to position to hook the guy, so you can pull them super far back, and then also OD will solve your mana problems with an Aether Lens, because your mana return with an OD on your team is based off of your max mana pool. So it's just got a lot of synergy with him. And Pudge is good against Huskar. Because
he is. So I've heard that Huskar is a Pudge counter.
No, fuck that. Maybe if you don't play it correctly. If you know how to play it, it's a good matchup for Pudge, because it's not so great in lane. One sec.
Well, Pudge is pretty universally not so great in lane.
Yeah, he's good at 2v1s, but he's not so great against like 2v2s. The thing is, yeah, Pudge has a negative win rate against Huskar, but he has a negative win rate against like most everyone. I'll send you a link. That shows the heroes, like Abaddon is the
yes.
Abaddon and everyone up, Pudge has a positive win rate against, and then everyone else he does worse against. Which is a lot of these don't make sense. Like he's got a good win rate against Tinker. I wouldn't buy too much into this, because it's kind of, I think Pudge is just, it's skewed because he's the most popular hero in the game.
Right.
And people kind of like don't know how the fuck to play him. But like if you look at Huskar, he's not too low, I don't think. Huskar is at like 2%, whereas like
Pudge is at like 50%.
I mean, if you look at, you want to look at the advantage stat.
Oh, got it.
And when the advantage is positive, that means that Pudge is better against that hero than average. So Pudge is good against Underlord, Zeus, and Spectre, but then if you go all the way down, he's bad against Zeus, Lone Druid, and Nature's Prophet. Which those kind of don't make sense, because you can hook a Wisp and just kill him. I wouldn't buy too much into it, but it basically shows that Huskar's kind of like just in the middle. But that's a lot of Pudge probably sucks, or the people that play the Pudge probably suck, because what you can do is you can just buy a fucking Spirit Vessel and throw it on him, and Pudge is a good hero to do that. And also, your hook does a fuck ton of pure damage, and this guy sits at very low health. So if you throw a hook, you can just kill him. And if you don't kill him, you can just ult and rot him, and it does a lot of reduced damage, but it's still you're disabling him. Yeah, he can't toggle, and if you can dismember him before he heals and you have any teammates there, he's basically fucked. So I wouldn't say at all that Huskar is a counter to Pudge. And often
to run on him with full health.
Yeah, if you run at him with full health, you want to ult first and then save your hook for when he's low. Because you're
the pure.
Yeah, and your rot and your ult do less damage the lower he gets because of his passive. Let's do a few more. So the reason that I like the GPM is if a game goes late, you can have some shit like this, and let's say that, and you can I don't know if this will hook or not. You can hook and then do all of this, and then it does like a fuck ton of damage. But if you don't have these two, and you do it again, it's lagging because I have Skype open, but you do about twice the damage with these two. And that's just like immediately stopping right after. Whereas if it's a real enemy, you can stay on them longer, but you're doing fucking 2.4k by having these.
Right.
So that's kind of like why I don't really mind. I don't like the cooldown reduction so much. And it's usually like one good hook and one good ult is enough to win a team fight. So the cooldown reduction doesn't really help too much, where you can just buy items that allow you to do things better. And this build is also really nice because look at my damage. Like, I can go fucking destroy this tower. The fucking E-Blade gives you enough attack speed that you can actually like do some stuff to towers.
Do stuff, right?
Yeah. Whereas if you don't have these two, it's like meh. Yeah, it gives you about 33% more attack speed, which is pretty nice. But yeah, so do you have any final questions or anything?
No, that's it.
Right.
I hope to see you soon.
Yep, I'll send you those videos,
Awesome.
and you can go through those. Get probably like 3 or 5 games in, and then with Pudge, and then we can go from there and see how you implement everything.
Sounds great.
Alright, so yeah, I'll send those to you, and I'll see you again soon.
Great, see you soon.
Alright, peace.